Welcome to World Talk Brief. Today, we're covering the tragic mass shooting that has just shaken the small community of Tumbler Ridge in British Columbia. We're going to break down exactly what happened based on what the authorities have been able to confirm so far.
So let's just start with the number 10. That's how many people are confirmed deceased in this incident, and that number, unfortunately, includes the attacker. It's a really stark figure that tells you the scale of this right from the start.
And this all happened in Tumbler Ridge, a pretty remote community in Western Canada. You know, for a town that's known for being quiet, for being a bit isolated, an act of violence like this is, well, it's just an unimaginable shock, and it has grabbed the attention of the entire country.
Okay, so let's get into what we actually know happened. And I have to stress this is very much a developing story. The information is preliminary and it's unfolding across two different locations as investigators try to piece this whole thing together.
So here's a really key detail. This wasn't just in one place. The violence spread across two separate sites. At the Tumbler Ridge Secondary School, 7 victims were killed, and that's also where the attacker was found. But then, at a nearby home, 2 more victims were discovered. This whole two-location aspect is, as you can imagine, a huge focus for investigators right now.
So let's just quickly run through the official details again. We have 9 victims killed and another 25 injured. Authorities believe the attacker took their own life. Now, an emergency alert went out describing the suspect as a female in a dress with brown hair, and while officials say they know who the attacker is, they have not released that name publicly. Amidst all this horror, though, there was a small bit of good news. Around 100 students and staff were evacuated from the school safely.
2 minutes. Just think about that. In a crisis like this, every single second is critical. And that's how long it took for police officers to arrive at the school after they got that first emergency call. Just 2 minutes. Truly remarkable. And that incredible speed made all the difference. The Premier of British Columbia, David Eby, he put it very clearly. He said that the swift response meant a devastating tragedy was prevented from being significantly worse. What he's saying is that the heroic work of those first responders absolutely saved more lives.
All right, so let's talk about how leaders are addressing the nation. Because the shock of this wasn't just felt locally. It prompted immediate responses from both the provincial and the national level as they tried to speak to a grieving country.
Again, here's Premier David Eby, and his words really capture that sense of disbelief. He said, "This is a devastating and unimaginable tragedy. We can't imagine what the community is going through, and you can just feel how difficult it is to even comprehend something like this happening."
And that sentiment was echoed at the very top. Canada's Prime Minister, Mark Carney, said, "My prayers and deepest condolences are with the families and friends who lost loved ones to these horrific acts of violence." And to show you just how serious this was, he actually cut short an international trip to focus on the situation at home.
And to really understand the gravity of this moment, you have to look at the history. The Minister of Public Safety has confirmed that this is, in fact, the worst mass shooting in the entire history of British Columbia. When you hear that, you start to understand why these shockwaves are being felt so deeply all across the country.
So now, with the immediate threat contained, the focus shifts completely to the investigation. And in these early stages of a case this complex, there are, as you'd expect, a lot of critical questions that just don't have answers yet.
So, as this whole investigation kicks off, the question on everyone's mind is, what are those crucial pieces of the puzzle that investigators are desperately trying to fit together right now?
Well, here's what remains unknown. First, the attacker's identity and, of course, their motive. Why did this happen? We also don't know what type of firearm was used or the ages of the victims. But maybe the biggest mystery of all is the specific connection between the school and that nearby house. Figuring that out could be the key to finally answering that question of why. For this small community, the road to healing is going to be a long one, and finding these answers, well, that's really the first step. Subscribe to World Talk Brief for more clear, thoughtful explanations. World Talk Brief, news explained without the noise.